We're back on Inside Politics. Our guest today, Bradley Jackson, the President and CEO of the Tennessee State Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Bradley, a lot of states, a lot of cities are increasing their minimum wage. Tennessee doesn't really have an official minimum wage. Why not establish a minimum wage in Tennessee and set it up where a lot of other states are doing it?
Sure. Most of the input we get from businesses, there are hardly any, if any, jobs right now that are at the minimum wage. They prefer a federal standard that they abide by. So if the federal government wishes to raise it, they prefer that as opposed to a mishmash of different states having different minimum wage levels. But really, an individual's skills drive their performance and ultimately their pay.
I know another issue that I think you're pushing this time in the legislature. It takes a long time to get this done, but I think you would like to see the state constitution amended in order to make sure that Tennessee is and remains a right-to-work state. And it's been a right-to-work state for years. There hasn't been, that I'm aware of, a serious effort to change that for years. So why put it in the Constitution? So
right-to-work, we feel like is absolutely fundamental to Tennessee's strong business climate. It's one of the first things we hear from businesses. They ask, is that the case? So there's been a lot of challenges. A number of federal, presidential candidates have said that will be their first priority to repeal right-to-work in the various states. We have seen challenges from courts. This is about an individual's right to not be compelled to have to pay union dues or to join a union, that they have that freedom to choose. And we think that's very, very important enough to establish it in our Constitution, make sure Tennessee voters can decide that.
And just so people understand, if something passes in the legislature this year, that's just the beginning of the process. It has to come back again,
yes,
passed by a 2/3 vote, and then it has to be put on the ballot. And it has to pass in the year that there's a gubernatorial election, then it has to get a 50% margin of whatever the majority is in the governor's race.
Yeah.
It's funny, that's been in the Constitution since 1870. It was never used until the lottery. Now the Constitution has never been changed except doing it that way. That's a complicated way to do it, although the other way, in terms of doing it with a constitutional convention, is even more.
Yeah.
The people that drafted in 1870 really didn't want the Constitution to be changed at all.
It's difficult, and yeah, that's exactly what they wanted, to make sure that it had to be a strong movement to get things changed in our Constitution, and the barriers that exist require that.
The governor took a bow during his speech about what he'd done in terms of the executive order that will start in March that will give state workers, a lot of state workers, 12 weeks of paid family leave. Among your membership, how many of your members give 12 weeks of paid family leave?
We think if the market demands that they have to do that, they will do that. The concerns we've had of if the state passing a law that mandates private employers, especially smaller ones, to have to do that, it creates a more competitive environment for the private sector as well.
There's been a bill pending in the legislature to do something like this for state workers for years and could never even get out of committee. What changed? Just because the governor wants to do it?
I think the governor sees it as he has to make sure Tennessee is competitive and that they can recruit and retain employees. But the chamber, we've had concerns if that applies to, or if they attempt to apply it to private employers. We think that the market should kind of drive if they have to give that opportunity to their employees.
Well, with the federal government saying they're going to do it for their employees and the state here doing it, and you see the local governments here in Nashville and other places saying, well, we're going to do something like that too. The market's going to demand that because everybody's going out. The workforce is not that large. It's tight to find good and keep good employees. Aren't your members going to be forced to do that over the next maybe year or two?
Quite possibly, yeah. They very well could. But I would say our private sector employers, they also have a lot more tools that they're able to utilize to make sure that they are competitive. That includes a number of other benefits that they provide to make sure that they can pull in the most talented employees at any time. So.
Another hot button issue that lawmakers are concerned about on the Republican side is Governor Lee's decision to continue to have refugees come to and resettled in Tennessee under the federal program. The lawmakers have already had their own lawsuit to try to get out of that program to begin with before this ever came up. Where is the state chamber on that issue?
So the Tennessee Chamber, we support comprehensive immigration reform that makes sense, that allows a broad sector of individuals to engage and participate in our workforce. We've always been very, very clear about that. Refugee resettlement is a little bit different than kind of immigration. So in terms of what Governor Lee has laid out in the legislature, we never and have not weighed in on that, but we do support immigration reform.
Would you oppose the efforts in the legislature legislature that would give them the authority to have to approve whatever the governor wants to do about refugees coming here?
I think the biggest thing for us is a path to citizenship, and that's more of a national discussion. The refugee resettlement is really kind of targeted in Tennessee to a few areas.
But this idea that bringing these folks in somehow makes us less safe, I mean, these folks, particularly under the Trump administration, are probably vetted more than any other group that's ever come into the country.
Yeah, and immigration for us has been a workforce issue. We want to make sure that our companies have a broad base of individuals to pick from, and that they can help grow Tennessee's economy.
As we wrap up, going back to education, there's the voucher, the education savings accounts that's coming up that the governor wants to start next year, but now there's a lawsuit filed in Memphis and Nashville, which is where the pilot program is going to start, saying no, it's unconstitutional. Does it make any sense to start this program early, given the uncertainties we've had about all of it, including, to this point, I'm not sure the money is necessarily there. It's in the budget, but the budget won't be approved until April.
Yeah, well, this has been a vibrant discussion in the legislature. The State Chamber Business Committee really did not weigh in on this. We have pushed the legislature toward enhancing our workforce and education system, which include a lot more effort around technical education. This one is a distracting conversation, and I think creates quite a bit of politics kind of in the legislature, especially as they look to appropriate education funds in their budget.
Bradley Jackson, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in the rest of the session, and I know you'll be watching what happens in November with the elections coming up as well. And thank you for joining us this week on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye.